Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. We're live on YouTube.
Good evening. This is Neil, Kilo Lima 7 Hotel, Quebec, Romeo, net control operator for the River City Arc slow scan television net for tonight. This net serves for training for training and practice in image transmission modes and meets Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on the NASA on the N6NA repeater on 441.30. Stand by. Sorry, I had to turn off my audio on YouTube. River City Arcs members and all licensed amateur radio operators are welcome to participate. If you wish to join the net or need to make a call at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions, and net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need a repeater, please contact the net control by saying break, break. A double break signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or the traffic is moved to another frequency. Those who wish to check in are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name and their location also maybe. I will recognize each station before continuing. Any station who wishes to check in for the net at this time, please come in now.
This is KP4, Kilo Papa 4, Mike Delta, Carol.
Okay, we got AI6DG and number 2 KP4MD. And I will check myself in KL7HQR Neo in Antelope. Anybody else?
November 6, Papa Golf, Quebec, Bob in Roseville.
N6BGQ, Bob. And by the way, Bob, on the side, I could barely hear you in 10 minutes today, even if turning the antenna around for some reason. Anyway, anybody else would like to check in for the slow scan television tonight? Okay, let's hope that we have some good contacts tonight, and we don't have any problems. I had a lot of problems on the 10 meters tonight. AI6DG, you're the first one I heard. Would you? Are you ready to send an image?
Could I get a confirmation on tone, please?
Loud and clear, no problem.
PD 120.
KL7HQR. Joe AI6DG had a good copy, very good copy, very few artifacts, a very clear picture, but I will reserve my comments for last. KP4MD, Carol, your turn for some comments.
Okay, this is KP4MD. I'm going to guess that Joel took apart his antenna rotator. This is my guess, unless it's something from a car. And in that case, I have no idea what it is. So back to net control. It's KP4MD.
Oh, you took my answer. Yeah, it may be an automobile. We'll see what Bob says. N6PGQ, brand and model, please.
Okay, I'm stumped. It is not something that I would recognize as an auto part. Carol's comment about a rotator might be right. I don't know. Comment on the picture. Real good quality, very few artifacts. The ID timer didn't happen, so we've got 4 gears on the left side, and it looks like a couple of locking rings, and a plate on the right side, and the device in the middle, which I would think might be a rotator, but I don't know. I'm just guessing, and another plate and another gear in the bottom right. So that's all I can tell you. N6PGQ.
KL7HQR. Well, I would also say it's a rotor. It's a rotator for the antenna. I have disassembled mine. I have a ham4. This is definitely doesn't look like a ham4. I don't recognize it. I've never disassembled mine to this extent. But on the VIX, it looks like I see the channel where the bearing, the steel balls go in, and the plate could be the one that holds the potentiometer, the wiper, the resistance for the potentiometer, and the wiper arm seems to be in the center on the big entity there. But good quality picture, again, like Bob says, and obviously a wooden table. And so back to you, Joe AI6DG. Which one was too far off?
Oh, you're all kind of close. This is an AR-22 rotor. I got this, probably 30 years ago, and just sat on the shelf, and I finally pulled it out. And it worked, but the controller I had was all broken. So I had to come up with something to actually control it. And I think I might have mentioned, and maybe even some pictures here of the controller I built. I found a kit I could build that came from Switzerland, I think it was, or somewhere in Europe. I still don't have that working with this. The controller I have that's in parts I can at least use to test it and operate it, and I realized that it was turning, but it was having a really hard time of it. So I took it apart, and it's just absolutely incredible how solidified the grease that was in there had become. I imagine that's the case in a lot of situations or examples back 30 years ago and now, where you go to the swap meet and you find a good deal on a rotor and you take it home, and do you ever think about what's inside it? Well, if you open it up, how often is it all broken up and gears worn, or even if it's all in perfect shape, if the grease is solidified to a frozen hunk of who knows what. Anyway, so I cleaned it all up, and this is the result after I cleaned it all up. And all those gears on the left are part of a reduction train that's on one of the shafts, and the round thing on the lower right, the ring that actually goes down on top of the round thing in the upper center left. And yeah, we're missing parts because I don't have the ball bearing portion. But I don't think the design in these has changed much in probably 40 or 50 years. There's a whole bunch of models of rotors that are almost identical in design. Let me let it drop. This is actually at the complete bottom end, I think, of the product line. It doesn't have a potentiometer. It just has a little switch that goes clack, clack, clack every 8 degrees or 10 degrees or something like that. And you got to have something that counts that. It doesn't have a brake or a lock mechanism. It's just a simple 4-wire where you've got a ground, a forward, a reverse, and something else that for the little switch that's going clack, clack, clack. But I think it will do for me on how I'm using it. I may have to re-grease it. I use CV grease rather than axle grease, and I'll have to consider whether I want to add some axle grease or not. But makes a huge difference. Now it actually turns easily, whereas before it was struggling. Back to net, AI6DG.
Scale 7HQR. And for a change, looks like all of us had a little touch on what we thought it could be. Yeah, I my spare rotor here, I will have to change the winding for the potentiometer. I got it. It's sitting here in a box that I received for about a year, and I have not opened it up yet. So it's the second time I'll have to do that. That's the first one that we put up on the tower, and then Bob had to come in here, and Mark had to come in here and help me go up there and replace the rotor. So. Anyway, thank you for a very good picture there and good description, Joel. Carol, if you're ready, it's your turn. KP4MD, KL7HQR. KP4MD, KL7HQR, you need a little bit of time there to set things up. I know you're very busy.
While we're waiting for Carol, AI6DG, N6PGQ.
Go ahead.
Hey, Joel, is that one of those old Alliance tenor rotors?
Well, that's here. Okay, CDE. So, I think that branding on these went through a couple of names as companies got bought or sold. What I'm looking at is CDE, but I think there's another name for it also. Maybe it was Alliance. Maybe CDE got bought by Alliance.
Well, I don't know. I was just going to say you don't have a controller, but somewhere in the pile of stuff, I've got a couple of the old Alliance tenor rotor controllers, and those are the ones with the dial on the front that you would, turn to a certain spot, and it would go click, 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 indicating where the rotor was turning to. So I've got a couple of controllers laying around somewhere if you want one.
Well, that sounds like this, the controller for this, because one of the 4 wires going up goes to a solenoid, and that click is the solenoid activating, and it's actually turning through a ratchet one of the dials inside. It's kind of a double dial, one that's being ratcheted and one that you turn. And it's an interesting little mechanical switch setup. So it's amazing what you can do, which mechanics, what they did before computers existed. But I'll keep you in mind if I end up needing something like that, because that does sound like what I would have been looking for before I found what I ended up building.
Okay, very good. Back to net, N6PGQ.
this is KP4MD. I'm sending my picture now. It's going to be PD120.
Bob, thanks, Joel. KP4MD, if you're ready, go ahead with your picture, KL7HQR.
Okay, let me try and send a tone.
If you tried, no tone heard so far.
Okay, let me just restart SSTV here.
Blame it on Windows audio drivers and how Windows handles.
This is KL7HQR. Good copy on the picture, a few artifacts here and there. We'll send it to Bob, N6PGQ, for your initial comments, KL7HQR.
Okay, well, that looks like Carol's hand and Carol's pen and Carol's radio with a CW key on it. The frequency is 140410, and so that's in the CW portion. So she's got the radio mounted to a board, which is kind of neat, so she can have her fist correct when she's sending. And she looks like she's got a log sheet underneath it. And on my picture, I've got a little insert of Joel's picture in there, so I don't know if I did something wrong or that's what's in there, but you can tell there's a few bags there, a red one and a kind of bluish green one on the right and a tan one in the middle, and some, I don't know whether that's a crossed leg with blue jeans or another blue bag underneath the left hand and wristwatch, but somebody took a picture while they were portable. N6PGQ.
Well, that would be this KL7HQR. That would be exactly the description I would have. Wouldn't guess if it is Carol or not, but I think that's a good good guess. Recognized the radio, and I had not been able to read the frequency. Now you mentioned 140410. Now it makes sense. And I also have the inset of Joel's picture on the bottom left-hand side. Some artifacts up on the top above the clipboard, but not many. So good copy. Joel, let's send it over to you for your comments.
Yep, this looks like she might be sitting on the ground somewhere. I see grass underneath the two backpacks, or it looks like it's a backpack on the right with a green and tan. Her sitting on the ground. I think that's her leg underneath her left hand, because I see a shoe up in the upper left corner. I don't know what the red thing is. She sitting on a blanket, or is it a jacket? Maybe she's sitting on a jacket. And neat how she's got the KX3 rubber banded or bungee to a clipboard. Isn't there like something called a sidekick or something? You know, the company that makes something very much like that. Haven't really looked at that product line too much. And she's got the fancy Elecraft keyer on the KX. Is that a 3 or a 2? Oh, that's a 2. That's a KX2, not a 3. The fancy iambic keyer screwed on at the front of the KX2. And so I wonder if this is activation on a soda peak somewhere. Hope she gets more contacts than what I see on the board. I only see maybe 2, maybe 4, unless it's 2 lines per, in which case it's only 2. But looks like she's having fun. Back to net AF6DG.
Well, as always, Joel, you catch a few details that we either don't catch or we neglect to mention. So back to Carol, KP4MD, for clarification on your picture, KL7HQM.
Yeah, okay, this is KP4MD. Joel was the one who recognized it was a KX2. I do not own a KX2. So that if somebody knew that my radio is a KX3, they would have recognized this is not my radio. And that's actually not me. I snapped this from, it was a capture from YouTube, from a channel that I like to watch. It's K4SWL. A fellow named Thomas Witherspoon, who's over in North Carolina. He does a lot of parks on the air activations, and he does unedited uploads of videos that he takes of his POTA operations, and he does like one at least every week. I think it was quite interesting, and I was interested how he secured that KX2 to the board. Yeah, it's really nifty, and it's very convenient. It's small enough you can do that. I think the KX3 is a little bulkier, and it's harder to do something like that. But that impressed me. He's got quite an interesting system. Yeah, in that picture he's showing with the Elecraft paddles that plug directly into the radio. But in his recent videos he's uploaded, he's been using the CW Morse pocket paddle. That's a lot cheaper than that one. It's one you can hold in your hand. It's very lightweight. It's 3D printed, and it only goes like for $35, and it has a really nice feel. I actually bought one because I saw him demonstrating it, and yeah, even though it isn't stuck to the radio, it's a lot easier to carry around than a Bencher BY1 or BY2 that weighs like 2 or 3 pounds with that big lunk of metal on it. And I actually like the feel of the pocket paddle a little bit better than the Elecraft paddle, which was quite expensive. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. He does a lot of testing of antennas like end-fed half waves and verticals and stuff that the manufacturers sent to him. So he does testing in the field, and it's quite interesting. And yes, this is a one of the templates that includes an inset of the previous picture. That's why you see Joel's picture in there. So back to net control. This is KP4MD.
KL7HQR. Kind of interesting, that kind of template, because I can see when you're doing a QSO on HF, you would be able to send out an example of how you receive the other person's transmission. That's very interesting. On the name of that, you said CW Morse practice paddle. Is that the word practice? I couldn't quite catch that.
Negative. It's called the pocket paddle, and it's one of their cheaper paddles. It's really lightweight, and I can send a link so you can see what I'm talking about. Back to you.
KL7HQR. Thanks. I got it now. Oh, the ears hear words that have not been transmitted. But anyway, good. Very good. Anybody else has any further questions or clarifications needed?
AI60.
Please go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about the paddle that is on the KX2. Although, like you said, it's expensive. It's nicely built and machined. There might be better, but I don't. Paddles can get so expensive; it's crazy. I'd love to get a chrome Venture, but I'm just not into CW enough yet. So, but the only key I have is the QRP Labs kit that they had. That was basically a little bit of circuit board egg crate construction. That was kind of fun to build. And I'm kind of disappointed they discontinued that. But it is pretty cheaply built. It's you get what you pay for. Anyway, back to net. AI60.
Pleasure. KL7HQR. Yeah, I understand. Just beginning with CW, and I purchased a Vibroplex bug, and I find out that I cannot even send my call letters with it since it goes so fast. I've been looking at some videos online on how to different devices that you can use to slow it down. So still working on that. Anyway, Mr. Bob, N6PGQ, it's your turn, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay, well, I took the whole station apart before we left on vacation. So let me send a tone and see if the system is working.
Yeah, we did hear a tone, sir.
Okay, this is going to be in PD 120.
KL7HQR. Again, good copy, very good copy, and I'll go on with my comments since I'm following you on the order here. I recognize this picture very well. I just very surprised on how you got a copy of it. As we were talking the other day, Bob, I told you that a friend and I, back when I was in the Air Force, we worked on the engine of my Pontiac Catalina 1966. And this is the collection of parts that were left over that I didn't know where they went. So anyway, no, it's a red background, cloth or paper, and a collection of items. It looks like they're grouped. So it appears to be different types or models of something very similar, of the same type. They consist of, of two what appear to be casings and several minor items. But there seems to be a collection of them. So that's my guess. Let me send it over to who's next. Let's send it to Carol, KP4MD, for your opinion.
Yeah, all I can say is whatever Neil said is what I saw. The picture came through nice and clear, but I have absolutely no clue what these parts are. Back to Net, KP4MD.
Okay, now for the real answer, let's go to Joel, AI6DG.
I'm kind of afraid to make a guess because every time I make a guess on this type of photo, I'm completely wrong. I mean, obviously we've got multiple sets of parts. They're not all identical, but I do see quite a bit of commonality. I mean, I see pairs of cases, I see gears, I see a lever or a catch or something. I see some brackets here and there. My guess would be windshield wiper mechanism, but last time I said that it was completely wrong. I think it was the, the overdrive engagement mechanism. So, I don't know, do we have a repeat? Is it another assortment of overdrive mechanisms? Why does someone have this many of these? And I think the answer to that question last time was because he collected them. Okay. Back to Net, AI6DG.
KL7HQI. Well, before I send it to Bob, I have to only say, I certainly hope nobody bumped this table after taking this picture. It would be an interesting situation. Back to you, Bob. N6PGQ, KL7HQR, and the Net.
Okay, well, Joel's actually pretty close. This is the last of the pictures of the Columbia Overdrive series, and I was kind of hoping Wilson would be here because he puts esoteric car pictures on, so I decided to do him an one-up or something like that. Anyway, these are different sets of Columbia speedometer ratio change gearboxes. And when you have an overdrive that is at the back of the car and you change the ratio of your gears, the speedometer doesn't know you've changed it, and so it doesn't change speed. And so what these are the little gearboxes that have, as Joel mentioned, a lever that when you shift into overdrive, it pushes the lever and changes the gear ratio in the speedometer. And, it goes in line with the cable and allows you to have an accurate measurement of your speed that you are going. The odometer, of course, will be slightly incorrect, but it's not too much unless you're selling the car and have to tell DMV how many miles are on it. So that's what they are, is they're little Columbia parts from different years of Fords, and each one, of course, is required to fit into the speedometer of that corresponding year. N6PGQ.
KL7HQR. It's very interesting. Before I send it to Joel, I'm quite sure he has additional questions. I was under the impression that before they became electronic, the speedometer cable, it was being driven by the rotation of the wheels, bypassing any transmission or changing gears. So obviously I was incorrect.
They are driven by the wheels indirectly. Most on these years' cars, the cable is attached to the side of the torque tube, which has a little opening, and then there's a gear in there that runs the speedometer cable that goes into the back of the speedometer. The speedometer cable can be attached in many ways, but it usually follows the transmission, of course, and is on the output side because that doesn't change in your speed, where if it was on the input side, it would be spinning like mad when you were in first gear and not spinning very much when you were in high gear. So the pickup is usually outbound of the transmission.
Okay, I thought at least I was half right on that one. Joe, any additional questions or clarifications, sir?
That's fascinating. I had never even thought about that, about when you have your variable ratio differentials and how that would affect the odometer and the speedometer. That's obviously that was a solution back then, and nowadays since everything's computerized, it's all be in software. You could just calculate all of that. You mentioned the speedometer cable, odometer cable go into the wheel. You know, I think I seem to remember Volkswagen Beetles did that. So I do think they actually did have the cable going to some pickup on one of the front wheels. Thinking back, all the other cars I know of have it as a pickup off of the transmission, which on my Geo Metro was interesting when I changed it from 12-inch wheels to 13-inch wheels. So when I did that, I had to go to pick and pull where I got the wheels, and at the same time I got the 13-inch wheels. I picked one of those cars and pulled off the speedometer pickup, because the different models of the Geo Metros had different gear ratios at the speedometer pickup that was bolted into the transmission, so that everything lined up and was still right. But how do they do that in trucks when you've got 18-wheelers and multiple transmissions and a switchable differential? And wow, yeah, it's interesting. I bet lots of different solutions to that problem. Back to Net AI6DG.
N6NA. Any additional comments, Bob?
Oh, this will be the last of the Columbia series, so I don't know whether I'll switch to a different car idea. I think I'll wait till Wilson's back for my next car one.
It's okay, but once he comes back, there is no penalty for repeating a picture, okay? You have some fascinating ones, and I'm quite sure he would be interested. Very well. I will try to send one now. The quality of the original, the resolution, sharpness is not optimal, so don't worry about it. There is a little fuzziness. I tried to edit a little bit, but did the best I could. It's going to be on DD 120. scale 7 HQR. I hope that it was clear enough for you guys to have an idea of what the picture is. Let's go backwards on the list for a change. And 6PGQ, your comments, and I hope you were able to copy them.
Okay, well, the picture quality is very good. I think this is an invention that Neil has made. It's probably the second generation waterbed. It looks like you aren't going to be floating in the bed, you're going to be floating on the bed, and the quality is good. We've got a waterfall on the left, so it looks like some actually a resort or someplace to that effect. And quality's, fine, not very many artifacts, so that's about as good a guess as I can get. I'm kind of guessed out, N6PGQ.
Okay, let's go see Carol, KP4MD.
Yes, this is KP4MD. Definitely a very unique type of bed that's floating. Looks like it's floating in a pool of water. That's quite interesting. Wonder where that is. But otherwise, I do see a little horizontal bar. I think was a repeater ID about 2/3 of the way down the frame. Otherwise, a really nice picture. Back to net. This is KP4MD.
Last but not least, Joel, AI6DG, your turn.
Okay, so we're looking at a pool, and it's nighttime, so the pool's lit from underwater, and we've got water falling into it on the left side. We don't see where it's coming from, but obviously it's some sort of waterfall. We've got a white sphere in the foreground on the edge of the pool, and it's got like a portion of it cut out on the top facing away from us. But the only I can think of what the white thing might be is maybe a speaker system or something, a poolside speaker system. It looks like there's a couple of places on the left and on the right where there's some floating plants. Leastwise, I see what looks like plants because they're green and maybe some flowers, and they're in the pool, floating on top of the water. And yes, as already has been mentioned, the main thing is it's a water bed. It looks like someone's taken a bed air mattress and made it up with sheets and bedspread and pillows, and it's floating around on top of the water. And in the background, we've got people and cabanas and lights and trees and some place where people are having fun, maybe a resort somewhere or something. And yeah, why do you have a bed floating on a pool, and it's an water air bed? Interesting. Back to net, AI6DG.
KL7HQR. Well, everybody obviously guessed correctly what it is. And with the story behind it, I'm trying very hard to remember. I used to go out in Mexico a lot. At least once a month. I was there for quite a few years. And this was either in Ciudad Juarez or Aguascalientes. It was a motel or hotel that we used to stay. And it just happened on this particular occasion. They were commemorating, I believe, 30 or 35 years of the facility. And they decided to have a party. And music, you cannot see, but if you follow behind the bed by the palm trees, there's musicians there. And so they have the music, they have champagne and wine, and they had, things to eat. And it was from about 7 to about 9 p.m. They had quite a thing going on for all the guests and the management, etc. And they, for some reason, they did that. They had the floating bed, and it was literally just floating. Every so often, somebody had to kind of come in and try to push it away from the waterfall. And the waterfall comes from a chute just about the second floor level of the building that just falls in there. So anyway, that's the story, and I found that in my collection, and I said, let me see if I can improve it. It was much, much darker, and it took a little bit of work to get to this quality, but which is not so good. But that's the story behind it. Any comments, KL7H Track?
Do you remember what the white thing in the foreground was?
Yes, they were speakers. They were speakers. Not all of them. Some of them were. They had plants and flowers, and I think about 3 or 4 of them had speakers in it. About 6 or 7 around and just behind the bed is where the steps are to go into the pool. So it was a very interesting, not too big of a hotel, but it was very interesting, very friendly people. We have here a 9:45, so we have time for 1 or 2 more pictures if anybody have them ready. So anybody is ready to would like to send a picture. The next person in line would be back to AI60G.
See if someone else is ready. I'm not.
Okay, the next one would be KP4MD.
Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll send one. This is KP4MD. Let me go ahead and load it in, and this will also be PD120, KP4MD.
KL7HQR. The picture itself came in okay, Carol, but there were 3 instances where either your signal disappeared or there was stronger interference. There are 3 horizontal bars, one right above the gentleman's eyebrow, right eyebrow, one right across his glasses, and one just above his upper lip. And the rest of the picture came in good shape. So that's all I'm going to say for now, and let me send it over to AI60G for comments.
I had some sort of problem on my end, so I'm going to use the YouTube image. I found a new picture I was trying to paste in, and something went wrong, and I was getting Windows boing noises in the middle of the transmission, and then things locked up for a while, so I didn't get the whole picture. But looking at the YouTube site, I see the last picture in the lower left, and then it looks like it's a screenshot of one of David Kessler's videos. Ogies that watch him. But he's got an interesting expression. He's holding up his hands, and he's wide-eyed, and I can't help but he's thinking it's this big or something like that, but I'm sure that's not the case. But and at the bottom, got a little logo saying subscribe, and at the very bottom, I can't see it all because the previous picture is overwriting part of it, but I'm pretty sure it says resistance is futile. Back to net, AI6CG.
Before I go on, did you say you had some problems on your computer and you created some noises, or you received some noises?
Well, I've got 4 lines across, and I was hearing a Windows boing noise, and there's a real bad cut at the bottom, and the bottom eighth or quarter of the image is gone. It's all white. I'm pretty sure that was on my end, because also I got a paste error. So I think MS-TV was all messed up due to something I was doing as I was trying to paste in another image in case you called me next to send something.
Yeah, you may want to take a look at it, because if I remember correctly, when we talk about the setting up of the signal link, they say that you have to go and decrease the volume of the Windows system's audio as compared to the sound card. There's something that I remember, so that may be what caused the bars here. Let's go on to KP4MD. Okay, no, you sent the picture. So let's go to Bob, N6BGQ.
Well, I have the bars also, and is that AGE or something to that effect that does the ham radio YouTube programs? Anyway, is a guy holding his hands up saying, "Oh my gosh," and a subscription request, and ants is futile, and Carol's call at the bottom, and slow scan net at the top, and other than the bars, it came through real well. N6PGQ.
Very well, Carol 7HQR. Yeah, I don't remember his call letters, but the August, yeah, I have seen many videos by him. He's a very gently speaking gentleman, and I like his videos, and I've seen several. And it's my opinion, what he could be doing here, he is asking you to subscribe to his channel. And you will subscribe, and the expression says exactly in his eyes, he's saying resistance is futile. In case somebody doesn't know where that came from, it came in from the board. Anyway, that's, but outside of the bars, which I think we know what happened, very good copy. Carol, back to you.
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. Yeah, this is this is Dave Kassler, KE0OG, who has, I think almost daily now, he's putting on some Elmering videos on his channel, YouTube channel, D Kassler. And he's also got a number of license study programs all videoed. For the technician, the general and extra, and he's got quite a following. So the ARRL actually put out a news article lately on one of their, I think it was the ARRL letter, that they are using now. Dave Kassler has agreed to participate in the ARL Learning Network since he's so prolific in his video productions there. So that's what it is, and he's asking you to subscribe, and resistance is futile. So, yep, thank you very much for the feedback on that. And back to net, this is KP4MD.
This is KL7HQ1 net control for this slope scan television net for N6NA tonight. I see that we're coming up to 10 o'clock. It's approximately 9:58. I don't think we have any more time for pictures tonight, but I think it was a success. Well, I had fun. Always learning a few things. Details from Bob, details from Carol and Joel. And looking forward to having Wilson back with us, and maybe one of these days Tom may come back. But it was a good net. I really appreciate. Before we close, any final comments from anybody? Well, I thank you to all of you who participated, and I think we got 1 like on the. We got 3 likes on YouTube. So we hope that we'll see all of you and some more participants next Wednesday. Again, next Wednesday at 9 p.m. We shall be here to learn a few more things. At this time, the net is officially closed, and I have now 9:59. And this is Neil, Kilo Lima 7 Hotel, Quebec, Romeo. Wishing all of you a good evening. 70 Chase, guys. Thanks a bunch.